You're listening to
You're listening to
You're listening to
You're listening to Beyond the Gates Tea, the podcast.
Welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Gates Tea, the podcast. I'm your host, Cornelius, and we've known each other for a little more than a year and almost 2 months. Also, before I go any further, thank you to the cast, crew, and creator of Beyond the Gates. That intro you just heard, that was Colby, who plays Kat, Alex, who plays Donnell, Naja, who plays Samantha, and, drumroll please, the creator of Beyond the Gates herself, Miss Michelle Valjean, our BTG queen, rounding out that intro for me. And this is amazing, right? I sent out that request on Good Friday, right after I talked to my first guest, or my only guest for this podcast, but my first ever guest on the podcast. And the response was immediate. So again, thank you all for allowing me to do what I do and just being so supportive. And I know you just heard me say this is the first episode, which means there's going to be future episodes. So you're going to be hearing different voices introing that theme for me as I continue doing whatever this is. It's a podcast. It's a Beyond the Gates podcast. Now, you know, for the first episode, I had to do it big, honey. So I talked to the Karla Mosley, who portrays Dani Dupree. And since we met Dani back in February 2025, she has been going through it. That is exactly how we met her, raging about her ex-husband's betrayal. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Karla Mosley.
I cannot believe we are a year and 2 months in to Beyond the Gates. Like, I know you get this question all the time, but truly, how does it feel for you as someone who had been in the genre before, and then you were out of the genre, and then now you're back, and it's one of the most popular soap operas that's on air now?
It feels new because we're creating something new. We have new characters, we have a new world, and we're continuing to build it along with the fans. And I think that's the thing that I love the most about the genre is how much of a dance and conversation it is with, we see the writers see something on screen, we all feel it works. We don't, and of course it is quite a dance because we're a couple months ahead of you. So it's like there's some dancing and then there's some lag in that dance as well. But it's just really exciting to see where these characters are going. We're even heading in what we're filming, we're like heading into the end of season 3 already. And I'm, nail biting every day when I get these scripts. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So it's really good. And the way that they are building things is exciting. And it feels very special.
So I'm sure you've talked about this before, but not with me. Take me back to you get the synopsis for Dani and you think, I can play this, or no, she's nothing like me. Take me through that. So like whenever you auditioned, you were auditioning, you knew you were auditioning for Dani, or did you not know? Did you think you were either one of the daughters or the other daughter?
I knew I was auditioning for Dani. I knew Michelle before, and so I think she knew that I could play Dani even more than I did. Dani is very different than I am. As you see, I'm like, in my room, I've got overalls on, I, wear natural hair, all that good stuff. And Dani's very different in some ways. And similar in others, obviously, because I'm playing her. And so then there's going to be a part of me. I think for me, any character I have, comedy ends up showing up. And I never thought of myself as a particularly comedic person, but I've seen that in every single role that I've played, whether they like it or not, the comedy comes through. So, I think that certainly is something that was already written into the character and that they've leaned into with Dani. But I saw a lot of differences as well, and I wasn't sure that I would be the right fit. And I also had been momming, I kind of like had mom brain, and I was like, am I going to be able to go back to memorizing all of these words and spitting them out, and not just spitting them out, but because it's so special, I wanted to be able to execute them skillfully and in ways that brought me pride. And I have been able to do that, which is a nice surprise with the help of some vitamins. But yeah, so it's been really fun. But the biggest hindrance, and I've talked about this, was moving to Georgia, because I've moved many times. I'm quite a nomad and I love being in new places and experiencing new places. But it was the first time in my career that I was moving with a family. And so they had thoughts and things to say, and they still do. And, I had to think about finding a school district when I moved here. Um, and I was going back and forth for the first 8 months to California, which was really challenging on top of memorizing all the scripts. So
Yeah.
it's come with some challenges, but mostly rewards. And the challenges just helped me to grow.
Okay, so enough softballs. Talk to me about where Dani and Andre are going. Is Dani gonna break Andre's heart? Because she's always running back to Bill. You don't have to answer, but talk to me about whenever you see these scripts where Andre's out of town shooting for the March Madness. She's gallivanting over to his office to tell him about Anita in person. Like, what does that say to you?
I mean, one thing I can say is I still don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna, and it's hard because Karla sees her growth. Karla, I mean, I listen to your recaps and I'm like, yeah, it's really hard to watch. And when I get those scripts, they're hard to perform. And yet I know that there are people who exist in this way and are just connected. And I said recently that I don't think she can receive love, and I think that's true. I think that that's one of her wounds, is or she has to go back to this person to try to figure out what went wrong, and like until she figures it out, she can't let it go. It's like there's something there that she has to win. And I do think it's different from Doug and Vanessa, who were in a committed relationship and grew apart around kids, and then had, whereas I think Dani and Bill, unfortunately, pretty early on, I think that he was stepping out. I think that there were issues. I think this is a pattern for him, and it has been for a long time. And I think she sort of quietly resigned herself to that and thought that they had an unspoken agreement that then he broke when Haley came around. So, whenever I judge her, I have to remember how deep her wound is. And there's just sometimes where she's just in it. She's just like in her shit.
Yeah.
And but that's what people do. And it's like, I still love her, and I still see how she's an amazing mother and how she really wants to be there for Andre and with Andre. And she does love him. And yet there's this thing. It's like and we talked early on about addiction, about love addiction with her. Nicole brought that up, and it's like there is something that she just cannot let go of.
Yeah. I mean, you're so true that people like that really do exist in the world. Like they go back to abusive spouses, they go back to cheating spouses. And,
Mm-hmm.
we have to do, and I know a lot of the fans don't like to do imagination, but we have to do a lot of imagining. And I had imagined that, yeah, like for years and years and years, Dani kept quiet about Bill's infidelity. And then this Haley situation is what blew the lid off of everything. And then you started talking about, oh, yeah, he's been doing this our whole relationship, which is so insane to see that the love that Verna and Anita poured into him, he was not pouring into you. And that's why it's so tough because, in this world, they've known Bill for 30, 25, 30 years. And you just don't turn off love for someone despite what they do. And I think that's the thing that people like me and and other fans like don't want to accept. Like we just want you to be done and to never see him again and to be over it. But you have all this history and you have two kids. So within all
Yeah.
that hurt, there is all this love intertwined, and again, I go back to, this is why I feel like the show is doing so well, because it's reality. Like, all the things that have happened in the show, mostly, but no, like I would say like 99% of the things we see in the show, we see in real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
people can relate. I mean, there are people like on the videos I posted this morning, people are saying, I want Dani and Bill back together.
Listen, I will tell you what, because most of what I see online is like, Andre, Dani, don't you hurt that man, and I certainly get that in these streets. But I will tell you, I'm shocked by the number of people who are like, I just want to see you and Bill together. You just look so great together. And I'm like, really? Really? And it's like, it's okay. Like I said, I don't know what's happening. I don't know, but really?
I
But
think
they
people,
do. A lot of people do. And what's so great about Timon is that he's such a fine actor, because you see, the story of it is so terrible, and him with Haley, you're like, what an idiot. What is going on? This is like, how are you not seeing what's right in front of you? And yet you see how endearing he is, how smart, how, you see the side of Bill that people would fall for, that Dani loved, and especially when they're together as a family unit, when they're with their daughters.
yeah.
So I think that complicates things even more.
Yeah, no, I've said that I feel like a lot of the issues we have is that they set up Ted to be this great husband, and it was kind of the counterpart for the first 2 to 3 months. And then it's
Right.
flipped on its head. And I've seen people say they actually like Bill more than they like Ted, even though we are led to believe Ted messed up once in a 30-year relationship, and then lied about it. Whereas Bill was messing, I mean, isn't messing up whenever you do it multiple times, whatever, but he was messing up and you knew about it, and they're like, oh, we want them back together. So
Yeah.
I sometimes think people, they want to see their lives reflected at them, and I try not to be
Yeah.
rude, like, but like I do think that like whenever like I see these people saying that, it's like, is this the love that you accept from someone? And that's a deeper
Right.
conversation, right? But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's both. I think you have the people who it's something familiar to them, or something that they might accept. And I think you have people who just really like to watch drama. It's like why people watch Real Housewives and all of these other shows. We're not that, because it's scripted, and there are other kind of smart things at play. So we're not at the whim of just like whatever happens when the camera's rolling. There's an intention behind what we're doing. But there is a little bit of just fun and drama and escape that people like to watch and talk about.
I was going to ask, and I mean, no spoilers or anything, but whenever you read about the Haley like reveal, because whenever you described it, like, why would he do this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I said this, like, what, like, she befriended Naomi and is now with her dad. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then, like, that switch, it's like, oh, it makes sense. So, whenever you saw that personally, what did you think? And how do you think in the future, if Dani finds out, she's going to react to, Bill falling all of this?
Oh my God.
If you find out,
Oh,
if Dani
so
finds out.
yeah, I mean, for me, it was the when Dani was in the hospital, saying that the miscarriage was fake, or even before the hospital, when she was confronting Haley about the miscarriage. Because as a mother, I was like, I would never, ever. Why are you making me say these awful things? Those were really hard scripts for me to ground and get behind. I was like, and I'm going up to this woman and telling her baby's fake. It just was so. In that moment, I go, she's got to be right. And so then I was like looking, and so then when I read the reveal, I was like, okay, she has to be right. There has to be something about the way that she saw Haley manipulate Bill, and her too, the way that Haley manipulated all of them, that she's seeing the pattern again. And there's something in her spidey sense that's like, nah, I'm not buying it this time. You're not getting me, like, fool me once. We're not doing this again. So, And I think Marquita's played it so well. She's having so much fun with that dancing between those two worlds. Um, I, gosh, Dani, it's if and when she finds out, so many emotions. One just being right, but also then this tie to Bill. What happens there? I don't know. That's a tough one. And especially if he then is over Haley, is he eating crow? Is he just like, knowing him with his ego, I don't see him just sort of like falling back and having a bachelor pad and embracing the single life. I don't think he could take care of himself. So it's like that's a really tough one. And yet, if she were to stay with Andre, she kind of wins. It's like, sorry, guy, you messed up. And now I've moved on. Wouldn't that be great?
It would be fantastic, even though I want
Yeah.
Ashley and Andre together. But that's a different story.
I know you want Ashley and Andre together. They're very cute.
I complain all the time that you just don't name a baby after two characters and then rip them apart. But different story, different day. We got to talk about Anita's breast cancer storyline. The scene that you all shared a week or so ago, where she was on the brink of just, I'm done with treatment. I want to die. Do not resuscitate. Bring me back to, you open up the script, or I guess it's a PDF, whatever. Maybe they mail you a copy. Sure. You open it up and you see it. And do you call Daphne? Do you call to Miss Tamara? Do you call Clifton and say, oh gosh, we have to get together and like really like practice this, because we can't just walk on cold with our lines and then be in the room and then do this. So walk me through you getting those scripts and then filming that scene.
Well, this is sort of the magic and madness of soap operas. Yes, sometimes I'll see a script and go, let's work this before. With that one, we didn't. We all came, we prepped it, and most of those were one take. And if it was not one take, it was because there was a technical thing and we had to go back. So it was just a moment where I think we all just prepped and got to where we needed to get and made sure. For me, when I see something like that, it just goes, for me, I'm like, I just need to come ready, because if we're doing this, if we're going there, we're going all the way there. And yeah, so we all just showed up. Maybe we went over the lines once, just to go through them in the dressing room. I don't remember if we had time to do it or not, but pretty much it was on set and just all being in the moment together. And it was an incredible day. And what you all felt is what we felt shooting it. It was hard. We were so drained at the end. And Tamara and Clifton, that whole last week was really heavy. It was a lot, like all the days leading up to it for them also. So it was just, we were all handling each other with a lot of care, but also it's exciting when you get material like that. And when you know that you're with people who can stand 10 toes down with you in it. It's like, being with the best, playing doubles with the best tennis players. It was just, I think everyone felt good, sad and good.
Yeah, we definitely saw that, all the comments, and yeah, like I was just floored. And it's like we knew Anita wasn't going to give up, but we were there. Like we were like, I think what really shocked me was, I don't want to, yeah, how selfish it felt, like everyone was being around her. Like, Vernon saying, I'm hurting too. And it's like, dude, you're not going through chemo. And then, you all don't want your mom to die right now. Like we all inevitably have to die, but you all just felt like you're just going to give up and like leave us here and make me be the matriarch of this family, and Nicole's with the binder, right? And I think that, again, the reality of it all, I think this whole conversation should be just called Beyond the Gates is reality, because so many families truly, so many families deal with that. Like they want
Yeah.
their great grandmother who's 95, just hold on, don't be a DNR.
Yeah.
They want, a huge nurse performing chest compressions on their 95-year-old great grandmother. And it's like, for
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
To break her
Right.
ribs and
And
then
for who? For what and for who?
exactly.
And yeah, so I'm someone who's like, I've thought to myself that I could be a death doula. If I've thought I could be a school bus driver. I have many, I have many other lives that usually have to do with care and service. But so yeah, for me, Karla, I would be like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's investigate that. I'd be sitting by her bedside having that conversation. So to come in as Dani, who's like, take the pen. How about that? It's like, whoa. And yet that exists because there's so many different sides of grief and not accepting um, that someone wants to go. And also the other side of it is that she made a different choice.
She did. She's gonna
Yeah.
fight to
Yeah.
live another day.
Hmm.
Besides your storylines, I feel like we've hit like the big ones, right, with you. I mean, we haven't talked about your
Hmm.
agency, but that's kind of like a keeping you busy side plot, like hopefully there are other things going on
Making it
because,
seem like Dani has a job.
well, whenever you're rich, this is also one thing I want to say. I think people don't like Kat because like people don't like rich people. Like I think that's kind of what it is as well. Like whenever she said, "I just want to take a wing with the grands," I said, "This is why y'all don't like Kat for real because she just has grandparents who will let her move in." And like so many of us, black, white, Latino, we just can't call our grands and say, "Can I move in with you while you're battling cancer? Because I don't want to be a third wheel." So people just don't like seeing rich people. That's why Kat in particular, but some other people on the show get a lot of grief. But
I
what?
mean, the Duprees, it's like, and I think that's why it's so important that we have the other characters as well, because we love the Duprees and the show's built around them. And also, they can be a little bit unrelatable sometimes. So we have to have the balance. It's great to see wealthy people and especially brown people. It's great to know that they exist. And, and the cotillion coming up is, I can definitely tease it's fabulous. It's just so great and so much fun. I didn't quite understand the vision until we were sitting and filming it. And then I was like, oh, this is really special. So there are lots of really amazing moments. And it's also nice to be at Orphe Jeans and just see the other side.
Yeah, see how the rest of the world lives. I was going to ask, what storylines are you most excited for us to see? Obviously, the cotillion, but whenever you have time, whenever you're not being a mom, what storylines are you invested in that really don't have anything to do with you?
I mean, the plasma ring's fun. The plasma ring is really fun, and especially how it all plays out is really fun. And then, well, of course, Isaiah and Eva are so cute together. They're adorable. But I think everything in conjunction to attached to the plasma ring is also what Naomi and Jacob go through, I think, which is very interesting. Like just the idea of, especially because I'm someone who has a career. Like I said, I had to be away for 8 months last year, and my partner was back in LA with our girls. And it takes a certain partner to be able to handle unconventional jobs. And you go into it and you think, oh, okay, yeah, great, sure, it's going to be so cool. Like he's a police officer, or she's this, or but you don't know what that's like day to day until you're in it, and things are going to come up. So I think for them, navigating someone who has a dangerous job, and whether that's police or military, I mean, even a doctor, you think, okay, yeah, we're going to have all this money, and but then they have to be at the hospital 20 hours a day or whatever it is. So I think that's a very real thing that many couples have to navigate.
Right. You mentioned your partner. You've talked about in other views, you identify as queer, correct?
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
did When did you know? Did you get married and think I'm a cisgender straight woman and then boom? Or did you always sort of know and then as we got into this era of more acceptance, you felt you could be yourself?
I was with someone from the age of 16 to 34. And he was the first person who ever kind of showed interest in me. And I think before that, for many, many different reasons, I didn't connect to my sexuality at all. I just sort of was like, I was very shy. I was really introverted. I never shared with friends that I was liked anyone or didn't like anyone. My first kiss was actually with a girl, but that was sort of like, I don't know, it happens. I just felt like, yeah, that's what happens growing up. Who knows? Um, and so I was with this person for a very long time and I didn't have a chance to explore anything. And so later on in life, I mean, that's not true. We had a really wonderful, long timed partnership. But in my early 30s, I started realizing, and particularly when I had some time alone out in LA when I was shooting Bold and the Beautiful, I started realizing that there were parts of me that I hadn't explored. And not just sexually, just as an adult woman, I needed some time by myself. And so that's when I ended that relationship and took some time and started kind of connecting to my queerness, to who I was as a Black woman, to who I was as a human at all. So when I went into this relationship with my current partner, I was clear that that was true about me. Um, and for a while, it was enough to just say that and have the people in my life who are close to me know that that was true. And, that I dated a couple other people in between of different genders, and it was all fine and good. But then over the last 2 years, I I started thinking, well, this is a part of me, and I'm a public person. I'm a storyteller, and so what does it mean to still hold all of who I am, even though I exist currently in this monogamous container, in this container that looks very heterosexual and monogamous. So then I started to tell my partner that I was like, I think I want to be more open about who I am. And I mentioned it. My friend Ross works at It Gets Better, and he reached out to me to do some ally work, which I've done for them before. And I was like, Ross, I think I'm ready to share this thing. And he was like, great. So then that's how that all started happening. And I have to say that there's some days where I'm like, why am I sharing this? Why is this important? It's not something that I want to do for ego purposes. And sometimes when I listen back to some of the interviews, I'm like, I wish I hadn't said that thing, or does that sound too self-centered, but the truth is it's twofold. One, it's to be of service to people who might have experiences like me, where it's like, yeah, you can be bisexual, you can be queer and still be in a relationship with whoever you are, like your truth of who you are exists, whatever container you happen to be in, whatever relationship you happen to be existing in. And also it's a service to me. And I have to say that since being more open about who I am, I find that I have a deeper connection to myself, that my acting's gotten deeper, that just my comfort in my own skin has deepened. And I remember before I left my marriage, uh, I, I said, or was writing in a journal, and I realized I feel like so many different people when I'm in different rooms. He was in politics, so we would go into one room and I would be that person. And then I'd act and I'd be that person. And then I'd go to see my mom and I'd be that person. And I was like, I really just want to be one whole person, integrated, no matter what room I walk into. And I feel that way today.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's important that people are allowed to be gay, queer, trans, however they want to be. I know there's no hope ever that you'd go back to play Maya Aban on Bold and the Beautiful, but Maya was always fishy. Got to give her that. And I think you get a pass. Like, I want them to say something like, that Danny Dupree looks a lot like our Maya. Or, so, just acknowledge, like,
I
obviously.
think it would be so fun. I think the fans would love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just a little nod. I
Yeah.
love her. I loved playing Maya. She was really special. And, working with Jacob and Lawrence and all those people, Rain and, oh gosh, Oba and Anna. It was a dream.
Is there anything else you'd like to mention that you think people should know about that I haven't brought up?
Well, first of all, just congratulations and thank you for your support all this time for you and the fans. But I think the fact that you've been with us in such a consistent way from the beginning has really given people a place to go. And so I'm just grateful to you and everyone who follows for watching and for loving us and hating us and talking about us. It means more than you all know. So, we don't do this without your eyeballs and excitement. And so thanks.
And thanks to you, Karla, for bringing Dani Dupree to life and everyone on the show that has created this world that has been such a fun ride and a fun time to get lost in. And I'm excited to do this podcast because I have been wanting to talk about a lot of things, but because of the constraints, especially on Instagram, if I go over 3 minutes, my videos don't get pushed out to a new audience. So on a podcast, I can talk however long I want and you all can listen because I'm very interesting, right? Now, we got to talk about this last week in Fairmont Crest. I talked to Karla before the Easter episode aired where Jennifer Hooten and Holler and Holiday was on as a friend of Anita's and as a surprise for her cooked up by Vernon. And I just love how they continue to integrate the Duprees into the real world. And I had a good old chuckle because we know Jennifer Holliday is an amazing singer, and I felt like she was holding back. Like you could just tell that she just wanted to hoot and holler and ad lib and do all these things, and instead she had to sing this song in a minute and 30 seconds. But yes, I just love how they continue to make Anita Williams Dupree a part of our world. I was looking online and a lot of Chattison fans were complaining that Madison wasn't with Chelsea. Now, I can't remember if it was explained why she wasn't there, but I'm going to assume she was hanging out with Willow. Anyway, y'all were upset your fave couple wasn't together, but Kyle got a seat at the Dupree table. I'll explain why that happened here in a bit. I'm going to need y'all to leave my girl Anastasia alone. I like how messy she is, and I'm tired of her being ran off every time Anita steps in. But it is a show about the Duprees, so I get it. Also, the Easter Bunny, I did not like the Easter Bunny. It was running around, placing eggs on tables. There was a scene where I think it was Bill walking back to the table. I can't quite remember, but it went by, and I'm like, why is there a bunny here? Because there are no children in Fairmont Crest. We get it. It was Easter. Like they said it was Easter. We knew it was Easter. We did not need an Easter bunny. But I digress. Enough about these small side plots. We got to talk about the elephant in the room. Chat, I think Haley is cooked. The walls are closing in on all sides. So we've got Lynette, who from the moment she came to town was never buying this whole act that Valerie, was putting on about being this dutiful wife. And then Joey knows Haley lied about being mugged. And now with her going after Tomas, Kat's on the case along with Naomi. And finally, Bill is putting the pieces of this puzzle together. This brilliant lawyer finally getting what's going on around him. He went to Joey and asked him to look into Lynette. Now, there are some things that haven't been made clear. So Joey, I believe, is still under the assumption that Haley and Randy, aka Sammy, are having sex. He's also aware that Randy is messing around with Lynette. I just love how y'all came up with that name. The fans, I love the fans. Y'all are so funny. Y'all are much funnier than I am. You should be on my podcast. What was I saying? Randy is messing around with Lynette. So I wonder if Joey is going to put pressure on Randy so he can give answers to Bill. And if Bill does discover a connection between Haley and Lynette, will Haley use her walk and wiggle, as Kat said, and say she was forced to go along with Lynette's plan? Now they're keeping us guessing, but when the truth is revealed, it is going to be huge and have a ripple effect mainly in relation to Bill and if he'll try to pursue Dani to get back with him. And as you heard Karla say, Dani has never really gotten over Bill. So please, y'all writers, because I know some of y'all are going to be listening, please don't put them back together. Like this, ugh. Don't put Dani and Bill back together. Okay, what's next? Oh, the plasma ring storyline. So I believe that's going to wrap up in May because we were told Leah, well, the actress who's playing Leah, was going to be on Beyond the Gates for just a limited run, 20 episodes to be exact. So by my count, we've hit at least 5 to 10 episodes. Somebody check that math and let me know in the comments. And we have learned Leah is ruthless to the point where she's keeping tabs on Grayson. She saw him and Jacob, aka Rashad, making the drop in a stairwell, and she threatened to hurt Ashley if Grayson decided to go rogue again. I do think they're going to let Jacob get a win and take down Leah, but someone is going to get hurt. And whether that's Ashley, Grayson, perhaps Naomi, because we saw Jacob's boss walk into Orphe Jeans and sit right across from Naomi. But yeah, I predict this storyline is going to wrap up in May to coincide with the TV sweeps rating period. Now, you know we got to talk about Vanessa. So between Joey and Deanna, she did not have a great week. First off, she is lying through her teeth to her children, the twins, Deanna and Donnell, about when she started sleeping with Joey. We know it was definitely before Doug died and while he was actively spiraling, but she told her twins it was after he died. Now, Miss Deanna says she ain't with this lying shit. Now, with all that being said, I did want Vanessa to give some of it back to Deanna. There was a point where Deanna said,
"Mom, move before I climb over this table."
Baby, I wanted Vanessa to look at her and say, go ahead and climb over the table then. Many of you have joked that this is the dynamic between a white mom with a mixed daughter, and you're probably not wrong. I've seen situations like this before in real life. And then Joey showed his whole ass at this double date with Carlton and Nicole. You know, they show up late. They were apologizing for being late. Carlton said he had surgery all day, and Joey asked, did everyone survive? Like, what? Like, oh, huh? So we know Joey's beef with plastic surgeons. His mom died on an operating room table because she was chasing perfection. She was addicted to plastic surgery. But he has beef with all plastic surgeons, apparently. And the conversation just went downhill from there. Carlton and Nicole pushed back on Joey. Well, first they pushed back on, bad plastic surgeons who give people surgeries they don't need. They called them hacks and said that they have testified against people like that. But Joey wasn't satisfied. He wasn't satisfied for their condolences and them saying they pushed back on hacks. He was basically calling plastic surgery a scam and how all of the feel-good stories they do about cleft palate repairs are just to get that good press for what he considers a dirty business. Now, he veers off into this spiel about addiction, and this is whenever Nicole chimes in with how rich it is. He's talking about addiction considering his line of work. Now, he quips back, I didn't take an oath, and they respond with, well, that would require you to have a conscience. Now, throughout all of this, Vanessa is just crawling out of her skin, trying to change the topic, wants to talk about the weather, but they keep at it. And they stayed at that table much longer than I would have because, you reach a certain age and you just don't have time. Like, I'll just share a personal story with you. Love my partner, love him dearly. I met him whenever he was in his early 30s, mid 30s. He would like to say early, but he's 2 years older than me. Anyway, he has these friends, and they are from his undergrad days. So roughly 16, 17 years ago. And they go to my partner's family's lake house in Michigan every 4th of July. And I've been 3 times now since we've been together, and it is not my favorite thing to do. But I go because, you're a trooper. But the last time I went, I was not drinking, and I didn't fall in love with 18-year-old Kevin. That's my partner's name. I didn't fall in love with 20-year-old Kevin. I just wasn't down. Like, I wasn't having a good time. And I made up my mind that weekend that no, I'm not doing this. And so I bring all this up to say, why did I bring that up? Oh, yeah, because Nicole toward the end says, Vanessa, I love you, but I'm not doing this. And that's how I felt. That's how I feel about going to 4th of July again, while they're all going to be wasted talking about how crazy it was whenever they were 20. Like, child, I don't care. I love 30, well, he's 37 now. I love 37-year-old Kevin, not 22-year-old Kevin, who was a punk and messing up his family's lake house. Anyway, going back to this table where they should have gotten up sooner rather than later, they keep on exchanging barbs. I think at one point, like I said, Joey, he went off into this spiel about addiction, and Nicole's like, yeah, that's rich coming from you. I didn't take an oath. He doesn't have a conscience. And then they start talking more, and Joey says something to the effect of, all these dead bodies piling up under politicians. And that, along with another line, I'm trying to think, there was some other line that he said. Basically, that's whenever Nicole was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. So I hope you were able to follow that through line with my little story. Also, this is why I wanted to have a podcast, because I have all these long-winded stories that Instagram, like I said earlier, doesn't want me to tell, but I can tell you all here. So Nicole leaves, and her night goes from bad to worse because for some reason, Carlton decides it's the perfect opportunity to analyze Nicole's feelings, why she's so upset with Vanessa, and brings up how she could be projecting her feelings onto the situation. He goes into all this drama that Nicole has been dealing with, and honestly, I don't get why that was even said, other than for them to push Nicole into Kyle's bedroom, which is exactly what happens. Carlton realizes he is not spending the night. He gives her a kiss on the cheek, and then we see her slip into Kyle's bedroom. She uses the key he gives her, and that is how he ends up at Easter brunch with the Duprees. So what am I looking forward to next week? Let's listen to the preview.
My letter of resignation.
This because of Haley?
Yes.
I'm terrified that he won't come home.
I'm casting a wide net with this investigation, Smitty. I need to catch a whale.
Or an impaler.
Stop right there, Vernon Dupree. You two must think I am Boo-Boo the Fool.
Sheila's the only woman that doesn't drive me nuts.
Present company excluded, I'm sure.
You drive me crazy.
Some dude's been following me.
I am calling the police.
Can you just stop thinking about yourself and just be there for your kids? Is that too much to ask?
If y'all don't get that wig off of June. Also, I'm sure Samantha is freaking out because of the cotillion that is approaching. Tomas is not going to quit Bill's law firm, especially since Bill is finally coming to his senses about Haley. The likelihood of Jacob getting hurt continues to go up as the plasma ring storyline is being fleshed out. And I actually think whoever is following Tyrell is connected to it as well, because I have to imagine the players we don't know about have figured out Smitty is helping Jacob. I about died whenever Anita said Boo-Boo the Fool, because that is a universal Black saying, but I think Vernon is planning some sort of surprise for Anita. It's nothing nefarious. And finally, folks really just be cheating all out in the open. I'm still not sure the end game between Marcel and Leslie, whatever that is, but with her history, he may choose to not leave his wife to be with her, which could lead her over another cliff. And we know my girl, our girl, Miss Dana Leslie Thomas, aka Lulu Linhart, aka Anna and Sherry. It doesn't take too much for her for that to happen. If you made it to the very end, I can't thank you enough. You Beyond the Gates fans make what I do so much fun, and you're the reason why I wanted to make this podcast. So let me know what you think. What did I forget? What did I miss? And as always, I love you for listening.